Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Wellbeing Wednesday. My name is Cynthia Marnie and I am one of your co-hosts today, and I'm joined with our guest today, Donna Digby from Alice Springs. Hello Donna.
Hello Cynthia. Hello Louise. Hello everyone. Great to be here.
And my co-host Louise Thompson.
Hey Cynthia, hey Donna, everyone else. So we've got 22.
So we had 60 register, and we've been finding that we're generally getting probably about 50 to 75% of people who register show up on the day, and we know that we have been getting a lot of people also watching the recordings. So for those of you who maybe haven't done Zoom much before, we've got the opportunity for you to post questions and comments to each other and to Donna and Louise and I in the chat box. So if you press the chat box, a panel should come up on your screen, and it's really important that you tick the box that says to down the bottom, all panelists and attendees, because there's another option that says all panelists, and that means only Donna, Louise and I will see your gold comments, and we want to make sure that you're all able to interact and see each other's comments. So Wellbeing Wednesday is an initiative that we put together to interview a woman from our network from rural, regional and remote, thank you Donna, who pointed out I'd left remote off, remote Australia. And really particularly during this time of isolation and the strange times that we're living in at the moment, we thought it would be really valuable to enable anyone who's interested, men, women, rural, urban, to come together and learn from some of the wisdom of women living in rural, regional and remote Australia. So this is our 6th one, and we've had some amazing conversations. We've got a really core little group that Louise has dubbed the frequent flyers. So I reckon there's probably about 40 of you who join us most weeks, which is really lovely. So it feels like we're developing that's what we wanted from this. We wanted to develop a little community that could just come together regularly to support each other and have a bit of a think about your own well-being and making sure that it's on your priority list. So I see that we've got a number of people who have already know the drill and they're typing in where they're from. So we've got, and there's a few people who know each other. So we're seeing on the chat box, there's lots of little hi so-and-so, hi so-and-so. So Liz Brennan, who's good friend of Donna's. Hey Donna. Yes,
very much so.
So Liz is from Wongan Hills, WA in Balladong Noongar country. And she says hi. Oh, we've got Michelle in Bundaberg. We've got Belle from Nan in the Adelaide Hills, and Belle's another one of our regulars. Amy Snowden. Amy saying she loves the new backdrop posters, Louise. I totally know. Aren't they fabulous? We've got Karen Nankervis, another regular from Beechworth. We've got Rachel. Looking forward to hearing from a strong leader in Central Australia. That's you, Donna. Julie from Peterborough, who's normally from Mansfield. Hello, Julie. We've got Sally Ann from Sandhurst. That's Louise's hood.
Hurst, we call it the Hurst.
The Hurst. We've got Kim from Brisbane, who can't wait to hear from Donna. Louise from Emu Creek, Louise Scott. And Louise is going to be another one of our future guests on Wellbeing Wednesday. Louise has had heaps of experience in bushfire recovery, and we thought that would be something really valuable for with her experience of trauma and people recovering from and operating in crisis. We thought she would have a lot of wisdom, so she's in a couple of weeks. Heidi from Hobart, Melissa from Halley Creek in Queensland. You know Melissa, Donna?
No, I know Charlie.
Oh, you know Charlie. Charlie A.
Charlie. I'm just reading all the comments that are coming up.
Sally from Tassie. So Sally Murphy, a consultant. She's going to be one of our guests in future Wellbeing Wednesdays. Virginia, who is a wonderful friend of ours. She's in Frankston South at the entrance to the Mornington Peninsula and is a dyed-in-the-wool coastal girl. Ellen, you've stumped me here. Ellen from Towan, it's not that hard, Tawanini in I should know that, Northwest Victoria. Amy from Camperdown. Jenny and Anne from Walkerville, South Gippsland. Meg from Taree. And we've got a few Australian Women in Ag members on as well. So Donna, what were you were on the board, weren't you, of Australian Women in Ag?
Yeah, I was on the board for 6 years as an NT director from I think 2012 to maybe 2018, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Yep, terrific. So I'm a member of Australian Women in Ag, and I know Charlie, Donna, there's a few of us here. So again, I'm just going to give a little plug for Australian Women in Ag. If you're a woman who's interested in agriculture and who wants to hang around with a whole group of awesome women like us, feel free to get on the Australian Women in Ag website and join and keep connected. Karen from Rokewood, Melva in Tatura, and there's another Rachel from Frankston South. So look, we've got heaps, we've got 35 on now. And the way that we're going to work this, so I'll just do one quick little thing and then I'll shut up. So sorry, I've been talking way too long. We've got, I just open my mouth and blur, words just flow out so easily. So the way that we structure this session is that we do a little intro. We'll interview Donna for probably about half an hour, 40 minutes. And we'd love you to ask your questions or make your comments in the chat box to all panelists and attendees. Because what we've been finding is that people have been asking some really terrific questions and also sharing some great resources and information. So Liz Brennan has shared the Australian Women in Ag website on the chat box. So that's the sort of thing that we do. We had some really great mental health resources being shared recently as well. So Louise is going to interview Donna and I'll interpret the chat box. And then in the last 15 minutes, we hand it over to you we want to hear what you've taken from the conversation today. And we'd also love to hear an action that you're going to take for your wellbeing this week. Because we think it's really important that we're really present, mindful, and that we're being intentional about our well-being. It doesn't just happen, it is work. We've got to put work into it, and that comes with focus. So also, Belle's saying, is AWI still a thing? Yes, it certainly is a thing, Belle. So definitely get on board there. Nosh, we've got Nosh. Is Nosh a friend of yours, Louise?
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. Welcome, Nosh. Nosh is a first timer, I think. So great to have you. And so then at the end, we'll turn off the recording and we just want to, if you want to hang around for however long you like and just have a little bit more of a chat informally, that's something that we've been doing over the last 5 weeks and it's been working really well. So for those people who've got, want to ask Donna some more questions, have a bit more of an in-depth chat, that's what we do at the end of the call at 2 o'clock. So yes, and everyone is automatically muted and we're on a webinar today on Zoom rather than a meeting. So in webinar mode, it means that you only see the panelists, you don't see each other. We are actually, if you want to try, let us know in the chat box, do you want to set it up as a meeting in the future and then we can see each other? If you want to do that, we're happy to do that. Let us know. Type away in the chat box. Do you want to try meeting style? Oh yeah, I could do a poll, Nosh. I could do a poll. Maybe I will, but then I'd have to do 2 things at once, and that's kind of tricky. But yeah, I will do a poll. So yeah, over to you, Louise. Yes, so Belle would love to see everyone else's smiling faces. Yeah, I think, kind of thinking that might be good. And just to let you know too, we will post this recording on my website after the tomorrow. And in the past, I thought the chat box was visible for everyone, but it's actually not because of the way I've saved it. So you don't have to worry. You can just type away, feel free, and no one will see that chat box outside of this forum. Okay, over to you, Louise.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the, I was distracted.
It might have had a few more words that you had to get out there.
Yeah, and I've got a cat meowing that I have to let in too.
So Cynthia and I have worked together for quite a few years now. Many of you know this because we've shared this very quick story at the beginning of our webinars on Wednesdays at 1. And fast forward to now, the interest together is women in particular, but not excluding men. That's you, Nosh, unless there's any other men joining us today. Everyone's welcome. We have this absolute interest in sharing well-being. And the thing is, we don't know all the answers, although under my desk is my yoga mat and my stretchy bands. So I've really, in my little nook here, part of the physical part of well-being is always on my mind. And Cynthia, many of you know, she's doing some amazing work out there in the community, getting wellbeing on everyone's agenda. But it's not about us, it's about our guests. And this is our 6th guest in the 6th week of our Wednesday wellbeing. And I don't know you, Donna, besides being on social media with you very briefly, and you have your story, and I'm going to let you tell your story. But what I did pick up, that is it true that you are from Chelsea?
I am from Chelsea.
Right.
And
So,
I was actually, and I was born in the Frankston Hospital, and I worked on the Mornington Peninsula and Colac. So I'm quite connected to quite a few women here, which is great.
Fantastic. So look, you're best telling the story. So give us a bit of context on, I suppose, even that quick move, whether it be quick or not, but why are you where you are? And then we'll plough into a bit of wellbeing.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. It's a bit foreign because I haven't actually done one of these live, so I'll give it a red hot go. So I did grow up in Chelsea, near Port Phillip Bay. But then when I was 17, I actually came to Alice Springs and took a job about 4 hours southwest of here. So that was when I was 17, first plane, moved away from family. And it was really that time I spent a year here working in a couple of national parks. I do have a park management background, but through my career it has changed. But really that time I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know if I would come back, but I really fell in love with the vast landscapes, you know, that red dirt, the people, the big blue skies, the resilience. And so I spent a year, I've been overseas as well for study. I've done all sorts of different things. I've worked in Mildura for the CMA up there, and down in Colac with Karen at the Corangamite CMA. So I have quite a strong NRM background. But it was about 2008 that I just felt this real pull to come back to Central Australia. And I'm really glad I did. So my husband and I moved back actually to the place where I first moved, which is a beautiful place called Wataka National Park. And you might know it as Kings Canyon. It's a really special part of the world. You know, a lot of people come and visit from overseas and domestically in Australia as well. So I went back to the park, and then over time, I've been back for 12 years. So my husband and I now live in town. And I've done all sorts of, the Territory is definitely a place for opportunity, you know, seizing whatever door opens. I've been really lucky to hold that door handle open and family put my foot in the door and take those opportunities. So yeah, I'm now in Alice Springs, like I said. You know, we have a running joke here that we're the most connected people to every beach in Australia because we've only got a 2-hour flight. But yes, I live in Central Australia. It's a great place to live. At the moment, I'm working in regional economic development. So, you know, we're obviously a big focus is working around the COVID-19, working with businesses to ensure that our communities in the Territory, you know, can rebound moving forward and stay healthy as well.
So when you open that door that says well-being, wisdom, what's been what's in that journey? What's been the critical piece of well-being wisdom that you've picked up along the way?
Well, over time, those that know me know that I like to fill my cup and probably have it over full. And, you know, I like trying new things and working with different people on different projects. But I think it was in 2015, it was about probably 6 or 7 weeks out from the National Australian Women in Ag Conference in Alice Springs. And my husband actually, he said to me, oh, you should get that mole checked out. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I actually listened. I listened to him most of the time, but I did listen this particular time. And I went to the doctor the next day. And the doctor was like, oh, you should, we can either leave it now or I'm back in 8 weeks. So we can do it then. I said, no, I'll do it now. And I'm really glad I did, because in terms of well-being, that really turned my world upside down, because so I had the mole scraped. And, you know, there was I had to wait because I had to get tested elsewhere. So there was about 10 days there that I was waiting. And, you know, through this time, I went back to the doctor and they said, no, it has come back as a melanoma. You need to get it further. You need to get that, you know, outside bit deeper and longer cut out. And so I did that. And so I've got a scar about 12 centimetres by 5 centimetres deep on my back, and I say it every day. But, you know, I think hearing that word melanoma, that turned me upside down. But also the way that I engage with the health service here. And I was dealing with a locum from somewhere else. And, you know, I got into the meeting room, and she's on her computer and she wouldn't look at me. And I thought, wow, what's going on here? You know, because I sort of pride myself in body language and that type of thing. And, you know, she said it was her delivery. It's, you know, you do have melanoma and people die from melanoma. And then I was like, instantly I felt like, whoa, you know, I could feel it here. I was getting way ahead of myself. But thankfully, I did do the right thing, and I did get it checked. I did get it cut out, and it was, you know, in situ. So there's a scale, I think there's a scale of 0 to 4, and mine was classified as in situ, so 0. So I really count myself lucky. But it has, in terms of well-being, it really made me think that I should no longer be a passenger in the health side of how I am, and that I should absolutely get in the driver's seat and become my best advocate for myself. So it's a bit of a dramatic experience, but that's what's helped sort of shape me now from a health perspective.
So in that drive, then Donna, what do we see you doing every day? You know, being that advocate and driving that wellbeing health message.
Well, for me, I think I said 3 sessions ago that I shared that I was doing, because of COVID-19 and the lockdown and the commitment to social distancing that we should all be doing. You know, I shared that my sister and I have got a challenge. We've got a Walking for Wellness challenge for the month of April. And she was meant to be coming up in here in Alice Springs in September. And I said, righto, let's just aim high. So we said, whoever walks the closest to 200 kilometres for the month of April has to shout the other one, a deluxe pedicure with some bubbles. And so that's on the table. So, you know, that has been just a godsend in terms of like making sure that I get out and do it every day, like that micro habit. Like, I want to beat my sister, but there's more than that. It's about that feeling good after going for a walk, you know. And I will report tomorrow's the deadline.
It is.
And I'm ahead of my sister. but more than that, if I could just add, Louise, you know, we all have, we've got great friends, we've got great colleagues, we've got strong networks. if I hear, and I guess that's why I wanted to share it today, but if I do hear of people umming and ahhing about, oh, you know, being a bit relaxed about it, I think it's just a healthy reminder that if we're not in that driver's seat, if we're not asking those questions of those health professionals, you know, how can we make the best decision for ourselves?
So if you go back to the way that that health professional delivered their message, you know, what does that tell us about those professionals? I mean, how professional were they? Did you respond kind of negatively in the way that they gave you that critical message?
Do you know, at the time, I didn't. I mean, I was just like, wow, like, what does this mean? I could feel myself getting like this, but I guess I knew that whilst it was in situ, I had to get so the scrape came back as in situ, and so it was really that 10-day period. I had to go through the Part B, which is to get that broader cutout of my back and get that testing. So I don't think I responded in a negative manner to that professional. I think it highlights to me, though, that when we have locum or we have health professionals come from other regions of Australia, and then they do come remote, I think there's an element of awareness, of onboarding with help, providing a good health service. I did provide feedback to my normal doctor, who was actually overseas, and to say, look, this has been a terrible experience for me. It's caused, you know, undue stress and anxiety for myself and my husband, and I was open about that. I did it in a positive way.
Yeah.
And, you know, they have actually changed their business model. They're not prepared to work with locums, which I wasn't saying it for that reason, but I thought it's important for me to have shared my feedback and my experience. And hopefully down the track, you know, other locums, I think it's good for people outside of in regional areas to come to, you know, more remote areas. You know, it's about broadening their skill set and their awareness of the challenges of, you know, accessing health professionals in a remote and very remote area. So I think it's that two-way. We can work, we can benefit both ways.
So that's actually been a kind of a keystone effect from what has been a dire situation, but your feedback has you know, made some change. What else has occurred in the ripple effect of that event with your health? How's it affected everyone else, or had an impact positively or negatively?
Oh, look, I think it, you know, in terms of my family, you know, people were worried. Like if you say the word melanoma, or if you say the C word, you know, it automatically puts people on edge. So I think there's a way to deliver that, though, to say, yes, it's come back, or it's benign, I'm okay. It's about reassuring. I had to reassure my family as well. But I think you know, I think they're like, oh, wow, geez, you're really close to me and I care about you. And maybe that's instilled in them to become their own advocate as well.
So I'm just having a look. Donna, this is from Estelle. How did you cope in the 10-day period? How did you manage your wellness during that time? You may have covered that off. Is there anything else, Donna, you would add?
Oh, no, I would like to add. I don't think I managed my well-being at all. It was a total shock. It was probably the biggest shock that I've experienced in my life. I've had a couple, but yeah, that was really, I found that really shocking, and also to access, who can you talk to access that? I mean, I'm lucky that I've got a really wonderful husband, who many know my husband, Matt. You know, he's a really strong support, but no, I went inwards, you know. When we talk about, when I think about well-being, it's about, you know, that looking outward. It's about feeling strong. It's about feeling healthy. You know, but during those 10 days, it was really interesting I almost had a helicopter view of myself. Like, you know, you go melanoma, people die from melanoma, you got 10 days to wait. And that 10 days, at the end of the 10 days, you're going to work out, what's going on in your life, you know? And so it's like, oh, am I going to be able to, you know, do I need to move back to Victoria for care, or, you know, am I going to have a family, or, you know, it was just such a tectonic shift of knowing, well, what I thought was important yesterday is actually no longer important now. What I worried about yesterday actually doesn't matter, and it actually gave me a really sharp perspective, and to shift that. So, you know, I try to take the silver lining in everything in my life, and yeah, I think I've certainly become stronger in being aware of what's going on in my body. You know, if there is an issue, I tend to it pretty quickly now, so it's made me more responsive myself. You know, I've always been a strong advocate for myself, but now I'm even stronger, you know.
Yeah, I wonder how many of delay that response. You know, even, you know, some people might wait for a year to, you know, action the following day. So I'd be really interested for everyone, you know, that's 40 people, you know, would you be responding immediately? You know, do you go to the doctor quickly? Do you go to the physio, dietitian? It's something we really should be asking ourselves. What else? What else do we see you doing up in Alice Springs? What behaviour are we seeing that comes under that broad umbrella of wellbeing?
Well, I think there's wellbeing for myself, so how I'm looking after myself. You know, it's this. I try through that health situation, but even more so, you know, I've been doing some coaching. It's how do I get the best out of myself? And, you know, it's those simple, like these are simple things, and I'm sure we all know this, but this is in essence my wellbeing checklist. Like, am I getting really good sleep? You know, and I count 8 hours of sleep a night, like a good night's sleep. Am I getting rest? And for those that do know me, know that I can't really sit still. And I'm always talking to people when I'm walking because I want to beat my sister. You know, so it's about that rest. It's about eating well, the exercise, like the gym. I've been going to the gym quite a bit because I want to get fit. I've been successful in the ARLP, so I really need to get my physical fitness up to scratch. So it's about doing that. But
just go back, Donna. What is the ARLP?
Oh, sorry, it's the Australian Rural Leadership Program. So I'm in cohort 27 of that. Really looking forward and very grateful for that opportunity. And that'll be starting in a couple of months. But, you know, in terms of wellbeing, there's the now, but it's what you do now that helps you tomorrow, then the next day. You know, those type of things. Just to add on to that, sorry, Louise. So we can be strong for our own wellbeing, but I also, you know, have a good support network around me in town and in Central Australia, and also my network across Australia. So it's about checking in with others. How are they travelling? And I have been doing that quite a bit, particularly in COVID-19, because the way we've functioned has changed. You know, I'm really looking forward to giving someone a hug. I've realised in this COVID-19 that I actually like giving people a hug when I see them, or shaking their hand, you know. And so even a simple gesture like that may affect people's well-being, that they can't be what they were 5 weeks ago, you know. So it's not never, but it's what can we do to keep ourselves going in the next, you know, couple of weeks, couple of months.
It's so true, Donna. You know, we know a bit about neuroscience, where if we're not hugging, we're actually missing some of those really vital chemicals that, you know, encourage us to get around. Cynthia, I'm putting you on the spot. So cortisol, the negative. What's the positive chemical that we're probably missing?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin, yeah. So that's the
love hormone.
Ooh, okay. So we get that from that, maybe doing other stuff as well, but definitely from hugs that we're definitely missing. Now, John, I also had a question from Sally Ann, who's from Sandhurst. What triggered your tipping point from the shock and downtime to the shift towards strength and courage, which you are modelling now? That's lovely feedback within that question. So the tipping point from the the shock and downtime to the shift towards strength and courage?
Is that in the context of the melanoma?
I suspect so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it was 5 years ago, but I think looking back, I think there would have been a couple of days that I may have been, felt that overwhelm of the situation, because I mean, I couldn't control it. It was way outside of my control. I just had to let those doctors do their thing and do the test, and I just had to wait. And I think that realisation that you can't control everything, that you just have to actually go with the flow and wait it, let the process do its due course. So there's the smart side of your brain that thinks that, but I think it's also just that realisation that just calm down, put your feet on the ground. It's, just tell you, well, this is me. Maybe I was telling myself that hopefully I'll be okay, But yeah, it's that perspective and that pace as well. In terms of the well-being, I was a couple of years ago, the conference, coordinated the conference as a convener, like this was around that time too. So I sort of almost didn't have too much time to dwell past those couple of days, because I actually thought, well, no, I have to get this conference, I have to make sure that this conference for AWIA. So it was about it was a 6 weeks window, and I just thought at the time I was like, when it rained it pours, like what the, but the show has to go on. And so I guess that was a good distraction for me, to just keep focusing on that. I'll just park that, compartmentalise it if you like, just have to wait, can't do anything about it, and I'll focus on getting that conference, a bit closer towards the day.
Jeanette, every time I've received a cancer diagnosis, I've entered the process proactively. What do I need to do next? So a bit similar to you, Donna, where you had the conference. That included organising my life so the cancer ops and recoveries had minimal impact on other people, and that was how we managed it. Same, different.
I mean, I certainly take my hat off to you for what you just shared, and I think it was 10 days, and like I said, I had the women in ag. I mean, it did go through my mind around, am I going to be here, What's that going to look like? Is my husband going to be all right? Is my family going to be all right, Like, that family side is still going to keep moving. So I had those thoughts for sure, but I didn't have to put those things in place.
Thank heavens. You've mentioned family, your sister, your husband, anyone else that kind of inspires you with your well-being? You mentioned before you've had coaching to help you as well. So what's going on there to inspire you?
I've had a really fortunate upbringing in Chelsea, and really good family upbringing, great grandparents. I was lucky to be brought up to aim for the stars, and if you don't succeed first, keep going, and just that perseverance. It's actually sharing with a good friend of mine the other day, and it wasn't until I said it that I was like, oh, they actually did really play a big part in my life, and it was one of my grandparents. And when I came up to the Territory when I was 17, I started writing letters to one of my grandparents. And, he's been in the war. And, I think just subconsciously going through that process of writing letters, the landscape, getting that sense of well-being from the landscape and the land that I'm standing on, the red dirt, the beauty, the people. But it was really one of, my granddad that really helped shape who I am, but also motivated me very subtly, because that was their era. Of keep going. And I used to talk to him about climbing up. We're surrounded by beautiful mountain range systems in Central Australia. If you haven't been, here. It is wonderful and it's gorgeous. But, you know, you get to one mountain, you go, oh, great, I'm there, you know. But then when you get there, it's like, oh, no, there's another high one over there. So it's just that metaphor, I suppose, of you think you get somewhere, but then you got to keep going. So that was a really lovely, you know, inspiration, you know, reflection, I suppose. That brings me to the coaching. I've experienced some less than positive working relationships a couple of years ago. And I had a shift because I thought, why is this happening? You know, what can I do? And I've been thinking about working with a coach. And, you know, I found a really great coach. And working with that coach has really enabled me to draw out, I think we hold a lot of what we know in ourselves. And I think working with this coach has been really wonderful to draw that out of me. You know, we do have the answers within, but, you know, they've also shared some other, you know, wisdom, if you like. So I think working with that coach has been really wonderful for my well-being. And I've been working with them for about 4 months, and I just feel really, really blessed to have had the opportunity, and I thank them.
That's great, because we probably wouldn't always think about a coach helping us with our well-being, that, you know, you go in because you want to achieve something, or you want to move career, or you're stuck somewhere. So that's great that that person's going to help with your well-being. Hey, I want to take you back to that analogy with the valleys and the mountains and what's next. If I put COVID-19 on a mountain, what does that look like for you, and how's that, or how are you involved with that in your community?
I think, you know, in terms of from my perspective, you know, it's been 5 or 6 weeks now in that journey. You know, the information was coming in thick and fast from all sorts of sources. I found that overwhelming at the time, but now it's more around, well, get access to those trusted sources of information and follow the rules, follow the direction, federally or even in the territory. You know, where our community, the spirit of Alice Springs, which is, you know, just amazing. It's a great community. I think, you know, we have banded together. We've had businesses, you know, change their business model to go from, say, dining to takeaway. You know, we've had people, so they're doing the social distancing, they're looking out. We've got a couple of groups pop up in Facebook. We're a very active Facebook community in Central Australia. You know, checking on elderly neighbours or parents, that type of thing. We've got care boxes going on as well. I think because of where we live, I saw it when I first came when I was 17, there's a really strong sense of individual resilience, but then when you've got that collective, you know, we're quite strong. And I think it's really strengthened that unity in our community. You know, we've got things like takeaway bingo. So all the businesses have, you know, there's a card and there's about 60 businesses. And, you know, I'm thinking of all the positives here. You know, it's about supporting local. And so I think it's this COVID-19 has really created that opportunity to give back locally and really strip back bare the importance of relationships, looking out for one another, that kindness, what can we do? We're very fortunate, and I think people are very aware that we do have each a responsibility to make sure that we wash our hands or put hand sanitizer on or cough into your arm. We don't want this to come into Central Australia because it would just be devastating for people who have, you know, might not, you know, the health, they might have more immediate health concerns.
You were mentioning relationships there, and I noticed we've got a question in the Q&A. Nosh, thank you. You've asked, and thanks for sharing, Donna, your experience on how supportive was work during this time. Now, was that during the time, Nosh, of finding out you had the melanoma. Just if you can just quickly type in there. Yes, so that time, how you work?
No, absolutely. My boss back then, like I've said, I've taken a few opportunities, so I've had a few bosses. But he was excellent. He's very much a family person, and you know, you do what you need to do, and you get the support that you need, and you know, just keep him posted. So I was really lucky with that, him being open to that and providing really good support.
It's great to hear. Let's hope that that is the case with many other bosses out there, that and not having, you know, being unwell, but just that caring and compassion. And
yeah, Louise, if I can just add, you sort of asked me about well-being before. You know, there's also, so there's the mindset and the outlook. There's the physical, I'm going to the gym, I'm going for a walk, I'm eating, I'm drinking water, you know, I'm looking after my physical health. But to me, that also incorporates that emotional well-being. And since talked about it before around, you know, being present now, you know, building those strong relationships as well. So I think well-being can mean different things for different people. But in getting ready for today, it really made me reflect. I feel like I'm the new champion of the benefit of reflection, by the way. Yeah, just having those, really being purposeful with my relationships with people, whether it's personal or professional, you know, meaning what I say and say what I mean, being accountable to others as well, and myself.
So then what about the reverse? What's a no-go zone for you through your reflections maybe you've uncovered? So what is, you know, your boundary in relation to your well-being? What do you say go to, or negative?
Well, I think, yeah, it's a good question. I think many years ago, I probably didn't even know how to say no, but through the coaching, I've really ramped that up a notch. You know, I really value how I spend my time day to day. You know, how available I make myself. I probably, because of the person that I am, I probably made myself available too much at the detriment of my own self. So I think I'm very much more focused on where I do spend my energy and what I do for myself. And you know, even thinking today, like, hopefully you can see this cup. This is my colleague's cup, and it says keep calm and sip on, but really to me the cup is the analogy that I'll use, because you know, a colleague just before I went on holidays a couple of weeks ago said, oh, it was just an off the cuff comment, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I just love that saying, because we can't. And if I think about this cup, and if you've got a cup in front of you, or imagine you're holding the cup, this cup, it's not just a vessel to drink from, it's, you know, it's all about well-being for me. It's about having that strong base here, that strong foundation for ourselves. It's about, you know, having a handle with a firm grip on as well. So, and setting those boundaries so that the cup doesn't overflow, or you look down at the end of the day and there's nothing left for you. So hopefully, you know, that was informative to everyone. But I have really learnt the value of starting off with the bottom part for myself, like personally, and then the rest is my family, and then the work, and then the community. Because if we can't pull from it, how can we do the things that we want to do and make the impact that we want to create?
So we'll put you on note our 39 folks that are with us. Cynthia will go through the potentially chat box for responses. So, you know, let's use that analogy that Donna's shared. What fills your cup? What's the well-being that's filling your cup? First in the cup, so I'm assuming that's the bigger pieces. So you first, I'd love to hear that very shortly. So I'm putting on those. We've got a great question here from one of our frequent flyers, Charlie. Oh, actually, is it Charlie that? Yeah, nodding. How about, Donna, your learnings with working with more challenging colleagues? So you mentioned challenging before. How do you manage your own well-being when dealing with conflict? Ooh, one of my favourite subjects.
That is a super question, Charlie. And we have talked.
We're up to first class now in our aeroplane with our frequent flyers. She asked a very good question.
How do I manage my well-being? To be honest, it's the work that I've been doing with my coach over the last 4 or 5 months has absolutely been remarkable, because it's taken me from me as an individual and how I carry myself, and this is, I purposely wanted to work on myself. And it's about, I've really tried to critically look at myself about how I interact, how I manage myself, you know, what I'm good at, what my strengths are, what maybe I might overdo my strengths, or what I need to work on. And I think the big realisation around the conflict, I have experienced conflict in the workplace on 2 occasions over a longer period of time. And at the time, I think, you know, I certainly felt like, oh, why is this happening to me, you know? And there's a shift between why is this happening to me versus what can I change, or why is this happening, and taking that step back and not being so, this is for me how I've certainly had that reflection, Charlie. What can I do differently? And what is it about, what's triggering that conflict? Because a couple of years ago, I thought I was aware, emotionally aware, but when it comes to triggers in conflict, I probably wasn't aware as I thought I was. And now with the coach, I can really clearly see that, you know, obviously people work differently, people have different strengths. These are not new things that I'm saying, but it's just, well, how do I fit into that picture? And how can I change my own behaviour? I think that's, it's a bit long-winded, but what can I do to change my behaviour to minimise that conflict?
That's sage advice. It's not always, you know, the other person's issue or matter. It could well be our own, and we need to be accountable, don't we, to make that adjustment. And we've got a great, and it might be one of our, see if we can get through some of these questions, because we really want to open it to Q&A. So Liz Brennan asked, Donna, I know you've worked with a number of strong Indigenous communities and leaders. Have there been any gems of wellbeing wisdom that you've gleaned from these, from those experiences?
I think, good question, Liz. I think, you know, when we spend time out bush, and I'm talking remote bush, takes a couple of hours to get there on country, you know, working with women particularly, I think the women that I've worked with particularly have been very grounded in, it's just so subtle, but they're very grounded in what they stand for and what they want to be involved in. And from a wellbeing perspective, I think that's a really healthy attribute, because you're not going to get involved in something that you don't want to, and whether that's from a cultural perspective or, you know, socially as well. I think, you know, that's number one. And I think, you know, the follow through, sometimes we might come into, and we probably all have seen it in some parts of our working life, people come in and say, oh, I can do this and I can do that, but then they don't follow through. So I think from well-being, like in terms of not being frustrated, or, you know, wasting that energy on not going anywhere, I think it's about, I've learnt by being clear about what you can commit to and following through. And if you thought you could commit, and you can no longer commit, we'll be upfront about that.
Yeah, that's great. I love this piece about being grounded. I don't know if we've explored that enough, but yeah, let's think about that. I don't think that's been brought up, Cynthia, about this whole aspect of being grounded. So I think maybe we can explore that further. But I do want, we've got more of a very uplifting question from Nosh, who is trying to move from the back seats of our plane forward to maybe business class. Nosh, think the question was around in our Q&A about, what's on your bucket list? What do you want to do now after being a fighter, a survivor of cancer? What haven't you done?
Oh, there's lots of things that I haven't done, like all of us. I'd really like to do some more international travel. I'd love to go through, well, when we can, maybe 2022. I'd like to go through Europe. That's a good question. It's actually not something I've given a lot of thought to. I think I probably don't have a bucket list per se with numbers of the things that I do. I think I've just moved through the things that I want to do. But I'll think about that, Nosh. It's a good question.
Yes. Well, he might.
I think just the other thing, it's not a specific thing that I want to do, like go to Europe but I think it's the last couple of years, whether it's the melanoma or working through with my coach. I've really, and the COVID-19, I've been really reflecting on the types of things that I want to do and how I can make a really positive impact to Central Australia and the people that I work with. How do we create that enduring legacy? We all have great skill sets. We can get tied up in the work stuff, but how do we make that? How do we contribute to those legacy items that are going to grow beyond us? Food for thought.
It is, especially for us. So I think we should be asking now from you, Donna, top 3 pieces of advice or top 3 tips of wellbeing that you want to leave with us. And we record these and share these with a wider audience.
Find your cup.
All right, find your cup. Taking notes, Cynthia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think find your cup and really understand what your cup looks like and how you want to, draw a line in the sand today and think about how you want to spend time in your cup. But also, importantly, how can you put yourself first in your cup? You've got to be that foundation. Think about, I talk about the physical well-being. Is there something that you've been thinking about wanting to do physically, whether it's go for a ride, go for a run, a walk? What do you do for your physical well-being? And how can you do that? Make a baby step. Can you do that tomorrow? Can you give it a go? And I think the third thing is don't underestimate the benefit of rest. And being aware of, rest and recharge. When do you have time for rest? Or where do you get your, how do you feel you cut back up from the activities that you do? Not in a transactional way, but how do you, recharge yourself? How do you keep yourself strong and happy and engaged? For me, I've realised spending time in nature, being in light-filled rooms and being able to hug people.
There's a great list there for us. I'm just looking at other questions.
Louise, can I interrupt? We had one earlier from Michelle. She said, humanity at work, so very important. How do you deal with workplaces where humanity at work is not valued? Well, not valued above perfection and ticking off tasks.
Can you maybe reframe that, Cynth?
I think she was saying that if when you were perhaps at work and you were having that struggle with people, is the workplace, how do you deal if you've been in a workplace that is not kind or doesn't value people?
That's a really good question. And I guess my comment is around, sometimes there are things that you can't change. You can't change people's reaction or their behaviour, and that's another realisation that I've had, but we can all control and manage our own reactions and behaviour and how we interact. And I think being clear on, the humanity side or what you stand for if we're clear on that, we should hold on to that. That should be that, you know, the bottom of the cup, if you like. You know, why should we, I don't think we should change what's keeping us strong, if that makes sense. And I think, you know, sometimes it might feel like a bit of a tidal wave, or, you know, it's that clunky, it's crunchy time, but, you know, just maybe daily or whenever you feel you need, just remind yourself of what you stand for and where you're heading, because like with the melanoma, sometimes we can get so ingrained in just the day, we forget, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say, like how do we see both? What can we do to see the trees for now, but see the beauty of the forest?
There's a message from Alyssa Strode. On a funny note, my partner just walked past and recognised Donna. They work together in Central Australia as National Park Rangers. He said he taught her to four-wheel drive and a tractor.
Who was that?
I don't know. Alyssa Strode. So Alyssa, you'll have to let us know who's your partner. Someone else has said Tim Walkley says hi, Donna.
Oh, Tim Walkley.
That's another person.
I know who that is now.
Ellen's just said this has been the best webinar I've been to for ages, so thanks, Donna. Camille said thanks, she's got to go.
So, hey, Cynthia, how about just before the last couple of minutes, we've asked now for our group remaining, what are you going to do to fill your cup first, would be the way we're asking the question this week. And so if I'm just picking there, Jenny O'Sullivan, is it?
Yep.
Invest in yourself. Ensure I get plenty of sleep, easier said than done. And remember, what you do for yourself now helps you in the future. And great session and insight, Donna. So that's good. So that's what we're wanting to hear now. We can all read it in the chat, but we'll read them out. Hey, for you, Cynthia, if you just want to take us through those.
Yeah, Rachel said, excellent, done, no more empty cups. Thanks, Rachel. Keep typing in the chat box. Yeah. What are you going to do to fill your cup this week?
What you've heard, in particular from Donna, what's triggered in your head? What could you be doing for your well-being?
And Nosh has said, inspire others in my own small ways. Terrific, Nosh. Great to hear. So, yeah, just take a moment to reflect and really, yeah, because we want you to take some action. So, Michelle said, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Donna. Your response brought me to tears. I think I knew there's some things you can't change and stick to your values. By the way, it's not my current workplace because she's working for Growcom and they're awesome. So good on you, Michelle. Estelle said, better make sure it's your own cup because borrowing someone else's can cause tension, totally. Belle said, to fill my cup, I'm going to research, find a life coach. I had one 3 years ago and it really kicked some goals. Kim said, real inspiration quotes that are on my post-it notes wall. And she's got to run off to a next meeting. What else? Practice radical self-compassion. Ebony says, I need to learn to say no. Any tips on this?
Just
Donna.
say it.
Just say it.
Just say no. You know, I think saying no for me, I feel like I've got analogies today, but it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So start saying no. No one's going to, you know, some people, the people that care will understand. The people that care less,
yeah,
maybe they'll come around. Just say no.
And Nosha said, and bloody go to the doctor. Don't be complacent. Look after yourself. Good on you, Nosh. Sometimes people just need to be told, don't they? Elisa says, Donna, that was great. Jill Briggs coached us. So Jill's another great facilitator coach on resetting values, and it helped me understand how my values balance my well-being and being my best me. Donna, your analogy from Charlie on being in the driver's seat, good at doing it within work or community, but don't ever use those skills for my own well-being, and I should be. Yes, Charlie, you know it, you know it. What else? Nosh says, Ebony, happy to chat on how to say no. Belle says no is a complete sentence.
Remember, was it Di?
Di.
Her no was, let me get back to you. So a longer sentence, but if you're not comfortable at the moment saying no, let me get back to you.
Yes, and that Di was our first guest and on Wellbeing Wednesday, and so that's on my website, the interview with Di, and it's well worth watching if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Di, that was her big challenge. How do I say no? Because she was taking on way too much. Nikki says, struggling at work at the moment, really needed the reminder that you can't control other people's reactions, only your own. So great one, Donna. Liz has used let me get back to you so often since Di said that. Pina, hello Pina, another frequent flyer from Louisa's hood. She's going to look after herself and do more reflecting. And Alyssa Strode says increase oxytocin. Yes, good one. Susie, loving these sessions for personal growth. Thank you. So everyone, it's 2 o'clock. So I would just like to draw this webinar to a close and say thank you so much officially. So we'll turn off the recording shortly, but join us next week where we'll be chatting with Fiona Lake, who is a rural photographer. She lives in Queensland. She has done lots of things in her life. Do you know Fiona, Donna?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
she's great.
Yeah, very. We've seen each other on Twitter, so she's very straight talking.
She is.
Yep, very straight talking. So just the sort of guest we love on this webinar. Very honest and authentic, and she's got so much wellbeing wisdom to share. I actually haven't put the link to register on my website yet for next week. So we will send you an email on Friday and it will contain the link to this session with Donna. It will also contain the key messages and a link to register for Fiona's session. Nosh, I'm so sorry. Are you a man? You're a man. Oh, how funny. That's great. Great to have you on board, Nosh. Isn't that so funny? Just what your brain says. Good on you, Nosh. Great to have you on board. Sally Ann says you can increase oxytocin through the breath. Happy to share. And yeah, one should never assume. Absolutely. So I am going to end this recording. Thank you. And we'll just, if those who want to hang around, let's keep chatting.